online is obsessed with having the best strategy, the best hooks, the best sales strategy and content. But when I look back at the things that moved my business along the most, that helped me be full-time in my business for over 4 years, make multi six figures cash, it was a lot more to do with who I was as a person and my identity than it was strategy. Obviously, strategy is so important still. It's a lot of what I teach in my programs and in the Crown Collective. But today we're gonna go over 8 things that built so much momentum in my business that have nothing to do with strategy. So welcome back to another podcast episode of It's Bailey. For those of you who don't know me, especially on YouTube, my name is Bailey. I like to say I have 2.5 businesses. So in this podcast, I talk about hormones and health because that's my first business. I talk about business because that's my second business. And then I don't really talk about this as much, but I do also have a pet page and do pet influencing. So I call that like my 0.5 business. I have no problem filming a TikTok. When it comes to filming YouTube, I feel like I put on my like professional presenter voice. So I'm trying to sit more relaxed to help me speak more naturally to the camera. So going into number 1 of 8 things that have nothing to do with strategy that grew my business, that I feel like really just shows the identity work, who I am as a person, is that when I started my business 4 years ago, I had a really bad breakup. And the next day I was supposed to go full time in my health coaching business. I had a photo shoot. I'll literally put photos on the screen. The whole thing, like the whole idea of the photo shoot was like, eat the dang donut. You can eat donuts and still be fit. So I had this whole photo shoot and I could have easily been like, just gonna launch my business. Like when I feel better, months from the breakup, or put off my photo shoot, put off going full time. But I use that as fuel to be like, no, like I'm gonna take this really like amazing photo shoot. I'm gonna go full time in my business. And that was the month, literally the week I went from making maybe zero, I think like $300 in my business, but like zero to having my first $6,000 month. I got like 5 or 6 clients, bing, bang, boom, right after I did that photo shoot and launched my new offer that week. So taking big action, even if there is turmoil going on in my life, because my business was and still is that important to me. Looking at my notebook, if you see me looking off to the side. Number 2, when I went full-time in my business, about a month and a half later, I moved to, if you know, like live in Wisconsin, I moved to Milwaukee, which is like what the biggest, I think besides Madison, maybe the biggest city in Wisconsin. I maybe had $1,000 in my savings. I don't even know. And I lived in this dusty, crusty little studio apartment and I lived under my means. And this was a huge, huge risk. And I feel like it's just those risk equals reward. I was only relying on the maybe $1,000 in my savings account and my client payments. And I had to sign on more clients in order to pay rent, pay for my food, electricity, student loans. I didn't have my parents' money or a huge savings to back me up. So it pushed me in a corner and it forced me to build my health coaching company. And I think that's why I grew so fast, maybe compared to other people who aren't backed into that corner, which is a little more stressful, but it really gave me such a good reward. Number 3, in the first 1.5, 2 years of my business, as an entrepreneur, even now, guys, like your money is never exactly the same every month. Like it is going to fluctuate a little bit. Hopefully, like the idea as you get more stable, more long-term in your business, it's a incline, less like up and downs. But in the first year, especially, a lot of up and downs. You know, I did hit that 6K a month. I don't know what I made the next month. You know, I don't remember, but I know for a fact I did have some months where I dropped back down to $1,000 or $2,000. So I walked dogs, I gave plasma. I even took a few clients in person at the gym and I taught yoga classes so that I could still pour that money into my business and I didn't have to give up on my business when I needed money. So take this as your reminder that while building your business, if you need to get a part-time job or pick up odd jobs, especially in those slow months, there's no shame in that. You're doing what you need to do. Like I did what I needed to do to build my business. Number 4, over the past 4.5 years of my business, there have been, especially in the first 2-ish years, many mental breakdowns, many times crying on the floor. Several times I looked at Indeed, looking for full-time jobs, thinking maybe this would just be easier. And I think every single entrepreneur goes through that. And I want to say it needs to be normalized in the sense that that's not a problem. Like having those hard moments obviously is so normal, but then I had so much resiliency to keep on going. Because at the end of the day, it's all choosing your hard. Even though I think I'm a really good worker, I really don't like being micromanaged. I don't like building someone else's dream life. I like making my own schedule. I don't like having capped income. I like being able to have uncapped income potential. I'd rather work, even though I don't, I'd rather work like 12, 14 hours a day for myself than even really 5 hours for someone else in a day. And just remembering that and being so resilient. And through every single slow month and hard time, I learned what I needed to learn to like launch that new offer or take new action in my business. Number 5, as someone who identifies as being super independent and in the beginning of my business wanted to be stubborn and figure out everything on my own. It's so annoying. You'll hear like every entrepreneur and business coach say this, but I truly have valued and I've poured so much money into business coaching. And in the beginning of my business, I put a lot of these coaches on my credit card, but again, it backed me to a corner and I've paid off every single business coach I've invested in like within the first month or two. And it has less to do with what they taught me. They didn't teach me some magic code. It really put my skin in the game to make that money back. And it really also, this brings me into the next one. So these are kind of together. It helped me surround myself with entrepreneurs who have the business that I want, who have, and it's so special, it's so important, guys, when you hire mentors, that you hire people who identify with your morals and values, and they are going to help you scale your business the way that's like most aligned. So for example, I don't do sales calls. I don't do cold DMs. That's like what I teach my clients in the Crown Collective, like how to scale their business without doing these like cold DM sales calls, more like icky sales strategies. So if I was to hire a mentor, in the beginning, I didn't do this, but I wish I did. I wouldn't hire someone who like, the way she grows her business is through maybe like ads or cold DMs or sales calls, because that's not how I'm wanting to grow my business at this point. You know, maybe I'll do ads in the future. I would hire someone who gets their leads and clients through, building a community, through their content, through non-icky sales strategies, like the same way I teach my clients. So hiring really aligned mentors, but also surrounding myself with women who take big action, who take big risks, because again, you become who you surround yourself with, but that is so, so important. So personally for me, although I've done like one-on-one intensives and I've done one-on-one coaching like myself as a client, I really like being in a like mastermind style situation where there is one-on-one coaching, but there's also that group aspect. That's why my program, like the Crown Collective Mastermind, there's that one-on-one and group aspect, because yes, I love learning from my coach and her being my mentor and her like, building this business that I aspire to have. But I love being surrounded by all the other like women who take their business seriously and are so resilient through the hard times. I love being surrounded by them too. Number 6, I kind of just touched on, but it was surrounding myself with people who move big in their business, surrounding myself with entrepreneurs, getting out of my comfort zone. Especially when I lived in Milwaukee, I met several entrepreneur friends through like Facebook groups or social media, because it was so important to me that I had that, as a solo entrepreneur, it can feel very isolating, that I had that community of women who got it, who also work on social media. And I also have so many friends that don't live in my same city that we can relate to things, because it does feel really lonely if no one else in your life does social media or has an online business or in-person business. They can, support you in the best way that they can, but they're not always going to get the things obvious that you have to go through and do. Number 7, one of my favorite, little acronyms in my business is BDE, or Big Deal Energy. And every single day and every single week, I have like a business planner that one of the questions in it is like, how can I get out of my comfort zone and step into my big deal energy? And essentially, this is an action step that's really going to build a lot of momentum in my business that maybe feels a little bit scary, because I am a big believer in like that insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again. And I think you kind of need to break the habit of being yourself and do these big things to get out of your comfort zone. So every single day I'm asking myself that question of like, what can I do? If that's through my content, through the way I sell, through the way I connect with my community, even if it's not business related, can I really push myself in this workout to show myself that I can do hard things and I can like move on to the next level? And number 8, the most important, especially the last year and a half, I truly surrender everything in my business to God. He can move mountains in my business that I wouldn't be able to move on my own. So with everything, with my content, with the offers I launch, with my clients, I pray. I'm actually doing a challenge I did last year called 40 Days of Impossible Prayers. So if you want to do it, you can do it along with me. It's for 40 days. I write down 10 impossible prayers. A lot of them are to do with business. Some of them are just like praying for others, for, health, etc. But a lot of these are really big, impossible seeming prayers or goals for my business that I invite God into to show me, like, together, but also through him, like, we can do the impossible. And it really strengthens my faith in myself, but of course in him, that like he is the King of all kings, the creators of creators, and he can really bless my business and help me just like be so obedient and just have such a fruitful business. So surrendering your business to God isn't just this one time, like checking a box, I'm surrendering my business to God. Every single day it is surrendering my timelines, surrendering how I think things should go, and really understanding his will is the best will, laying my business at his feet and doing what he tells me to do. One of those things was posting on YouTube. I want to make a whole story about this, but I've always posted on YouTube besides kind of like college. I had my first YouTube channel in 5th grade. It was about my pet hamster, and it had thousands of subscribers. My dad would upload them. I just made them on this big bulky camera, and I was on even a collab channel, guys, and I would do like hamster cage tours, and in middle school then, I remember a boy in my art class was like, this is literally how these things, this is an integral part of my life as far as like putting myself out there on social media. A boy said to me, I found your YouTube. And it terrified me. I was so afraid of people making fun of me. So I went home that day, deleted my YouTube, and I'm so sad. I wish it was still out there and I could watch my videos, and I hate that I did that. And then in high school, I had a YouTube channel with my friends where we made music videos and makeup videos. And again, we didn't really post consistently, but also I was so afraid of what other people would think. But I felt a little less of that because I was like doing with my friends. And then last year I tried posting a few videos, but it is, like I said, okay, I post 3 times a day across all my socials. I have no problem filming a TikTok, filming a video. Like, I feel very natural on camera, but when it comes to YouTube, there's something so vulnerable about making a long form video where it's like, can you see my fat rolls? Can you see my zits? Like, do I have armpit fat right here? Is my lipstick getting all messed up? Like these, I don't know. I think it's just that I can't start, stop. It just feels a lot more vulnerable. And I feel like this was a really big business move, something I could do to get in my big deal energy. God told me, like, you need to start posting on YouTube. YouTube is for the long haul. You want a long-term business. You can impact people way more on YouTube. You have so many good stories, advice that like belongs off of Instagram and TikTok, because people come to YouTube truly to learn, and that I could help so many people, especially because in the business space, there are some scammers. So there's a lot of business coaches who I think like to just fight and bicker and I don't know, just putting each other down, or just very sales call-y, cold DM, bro kind of marketing. And I really wanted to create this positive place where you can build a business that you're proud of, and you can build a business that you're excited to wake up to every single day, that doesn't feel like it's so hard and grueling and miserable to build. Like, it's hard, but it's easy hard because you love the work that you do. So kind of a long-winded last answer, but God told me to create this YouTube channel. So as you can see, looking back at those 8 things, none of those things have to do with having the perfect hook, having the perfect messaging or caption. And again, those things are important. I help my clients with those things. But for me, the most impactful moves in my business where I really had to step up to my next level or identity, and really put my skin in the game and take risks and push myself to be cringy and get vulnerable and move despite what was going on in my life. And I hope this video just inspires you to focus and obsess a little bit less on the nitty-gritty, nitpicky strategy, and encourages you more to really step out of your comfort zone and look more at your identity as a business owner. So if you enjoyed this video, I would so appreciate if you could like and subscribe and leave me a comment with your thoughts.